What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Harrison, and today we're going to be talking about the Switch 2. There's not a lot of news going on right now, and I was just kind of thinking about the Switch 2, and I mean, we all pretty much know from the leaks, and it's not 100% guaranteed, but from all the manufacturing leaks and the third party accessory leaks, we kind of know what this thing looks like. We know the internal specs for the most part of the Switch 2. Still don't know what it's going to be called, but probably going to be called the Switch 2. And that kind of leads into the point of this video is Nintendo, out of all the game companies between the big three, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, Xbox and PlayStation more or less keep it pretty safe. They're just more powerful versions of the previous generation. Now, in the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, in PlayStation 3 generation, they had like their motion control stuff. Xbox had the Kinects, and they tried different things to kind of emulate the success of the Wii and how popular it was back in the day. But for the most part, and especially the PS5 and the Series X and S, pretty safe. Next step in generation, so safe that a lot of people, and myself included, are kind of wondering what the point of this generation is. Not saying that the games aren't great, but graphically wise, like, at the point we're going to start getting diminishing returns. Like, games can really only look so good and also run so good, and play and be a fun game. It's not just like a walking simulator. Nintendo is really the company that, I'm not going to say like pushes the boundaries, because all of their stuff is not mind-blowing, but at least Nintendo does something different with every single kind of generation. Going from like the N64 to like GameCube, not a huge difference. There wasn't, that they had the Wavebird, the kind of the one of the first console wireless controllers. It was just the overall form factor of the GameCube was pretty different in comparison to the Xbox and the PS2. So that was neat, but really kind of the Wii and the Game Boy Advance SP, and going to the Nintendo DS, and even going into the 3DS, they've all been kind of like evolutions in their own right of what they were kind of building upon. Especially going from the GameCube to the Wii, like with the motion sensing stuff. While I didn't love the Wii generation, it had a lot of great games. I mean, Xenoblade, Metroid Prime 3, the Conduit, Red Steel. There was a lot of like really interesting Boom Blocks, for those who remember that game. A lot of cool games that really capitalized on the motion control, but it still wasn't my favorite. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is iteration isn't necessary, or evolution isn't necessarily always a good thing, but with us pretty much knowing that it's going to be the Switch 2 and it's going to be an iteration on the Switch, there could be some really cool gimmick that we don't know about. It's got the Switch 2 is, seemingly has a USB port on top as well as the bottom. So, some people are thinking there's going to be a second screen that you can put on top, which could be really interesting. I don't, obviously we have no idea until, Nintendo announces what this thing looks like. But from what we've seen so far, like, we know it's got like the magnetic Joy-Cons, and whether or not you can, attach other things to that, because there was that rumor a few months ago where YouTube did a survey, and they were, they asked I think it was like, what do you prefer to play on? And it was Xbox, PlayStation, and then the Switch attached. So that was a little bit strange. So we don't know if the Switch 2 is going to have a gimmick or be a gimmicky system. I mean, the Switch was obviously an evolution, combining the Wii and the Wii U, where the Wii U had the gamepad, and that was kind of like the bridge between the Wii and the Switch. And then it still has all the motion control and the gyro, and they had like their, the Rumble HD, which was pretty gimmicky. How many games, you could probably count less than 10 games that actually use that IR sensor. So most of that stuff is pretty gimmicky. But that's also a little bit disappointing for me, as far as it being an iteration and not like an evolution of what comes now. I full on to think after the Switch 2, we'll get like the next big Nintendo console, years, it's gonna be years away, of course, but it'll be like the next big kind of leap for Nintendo. But yeah, part of me is a little bummed out because it is just a Switch 2 and it's nothing like revolutionary, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But also, like, I love the Switch, and my biggest problem with the Switch right now is just it's not powerful enough. Even games like Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, a first party game doesn't run super great, and there's been Tears of the Kingdom didn't run super great. So it's time, and I love the handheld factor, and handhelds have really skyrocketed since Switch launch. We have like the ROG Ally, the Steam Deck, and there's some other ones out there. Xbox is looking into making their own Xbox handheld. PlayStation is thinking about going back to whether it'll be called the PlayStation Portable or PSP or not. Probably not. It'll probably have a different name, just because that thing didn't sell super well. But yeah, it still feels a little bit of a bummer because Nintendo is always so different than the rest, and they still are in comparison to PlayStation and Xbox, even if they do a Switch too, and it's not a huge different form factor. It's still quite different than what Xbox and PlayStation has to offer. But you have to think, like, what else could they do? I mean, going from the DS to the 3DS was, really awesome. Like, yes, it was. One can say it was kind of iterative because it was the same form factor. They just added, the glasses free 3D, but it was really cool. It was a really cool feature. One could say a little gimmicky. I mean, how often do you actually use the 3D feature on the 3DS? You probably used it for a couple of hours when you started the game and then you just turned it off. But like that was such a really cool really neat feature that no one else really kind of took. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm excited for the Switch 2 because it's just a more powerful Switch, and I've loved the Switch generation, and I kind of just want to see that progress. But also, I kind of am gonna miss out or miss what Nintendo could have done if they went in like more of the evolution aspect of it, and we got something completely different, you know. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think. I think the vast majority of people just want a stronger, a faster, stronger, more reliable Switch. But I do see the comments occasionally where people do want something completely different in the Switch. So let me know in the comments below what you prefer, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Consider subscribing to the channel. I'll let YouTube algorithm pick one of my videos below for you guys to watch. Give it a click, and I hope you enjoy, and I will see you in the next video.